my name's Ravi, an investor with DilleenProperty Group. Currently, I'm about to settle my 7th property with Dilleen, and probably all up have built around $1.5 million of equity in those properties since 2019. I'd say easy over $1.5 million, in equity. So like the Queensland ones are obviously both loans. And obviously I pulled out some equity to buy some other ones. Property 7 will be the one in Maroubra, which will probably be in March. So the 6 with Eddie, and then I had probably 4 before Eddie, just from my own investing in Perth before. So I did some developments in Perth, built, subdivided, and then when these ones came up with Eddie, when I first saw him, I think it was late 2018. And then I bought the first ones in 2019. I wish I bought more. 2. So Cudale and Cloverdale.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the Cloverdale one's done really well. I bought that one for 510, and I think the last valuation was 850. So that's a pretty good one. And I was just saying that living in Perth, I would have never bought property in those suburbs, even though they make sense. I just would have gone, I'm not living there. I would never, when you looked at the numbers, it was like. And the other big one was probably the Picker Finance team. So I had a mortgage broker before, and I thought, all right, if Justin's doing it with Eddie and he's an investor, that's probably the other box that I was missing. So with the DilleenProperty Group, just having it all in one and being able to say they're not just finance people, they're also doing it themselves. They're actually doing it themselves. And so that to me was like, well, if these guys can get to 10, 15 properties, then I'm sort of at 5 or 6, surely I can do that too. So that's when I, like working with Justin, and I guess my mortgage broker was probably old school. So it was very much paper and that speed of getting things done, and then jumping into Picker Finance, everything's on the vault and all the information's there, and you just upload it and it's very quick. So that reduce the stress of trying to get, pay slips and then meet the mortgage broker to get your ID cited. And so that technology side, which I was like, which is fine, but I think technology changes so quickly, and just to be able to, get deals, close them quickly. And I think it's that thing, like, I think there's always that concern, and like I've, spoken to a lot of people, within my circle of friends and workplace, and everyone, they don't know what they don't know. So as you talk through that, it starts to make sense for them, but that first push to go and buy something sight unseen, saying, oh, well, they've sent you this, but is it real? And it's just that natural. So I think the best thing for people is to actually listen to people. And I guess Eddie's growth has obviously been ridiculous if you look at his age and that ability. And so it shows you don't have to buy the most expensive property in the best suburb. It's just the fundamentals that you need to realise, and every market's different. As I said, even in Perth, I would never have looked at certain suburbs, just. I found out DilleenProperty, I think it was an Instagram post at the time. I think it was just a very simple FAQ with Eddie, where he was talking about on a whiteboard how to grow from 1 to 3 properties. And it was just saying, if you pull the equity out of that property, take it out, instead of buying one big one at 600,000, you could buy 3 for 200,000. And it's about the equity growth that you can use to grow. So that's basically, I think, how it started. And then that got my mind thinking about, well, there's probably nothing wrong buying a $200,000 property. You could probably buy 3 and then leverage that. And so that's basically what I've done with the properties I bought with Eddie. For the first property, I think it was the Logan Lee property in Queensland. So that was, I think, a purchase for $215,000 in 2019. Was rented out already, so I didn't have to worry about anything. Obviously didn't fly to Queensland to look at it. Eddie presented the deal, we had a chat, and then the positive thing is he had a property management company as well. So it was very easy to just let Dilleen Realty take over that from a management perspective. And then since then, haven't had an issue. It's always been rented out from day dot, and the rents have increased, obviously, significantly. I think when I first got the property, it was rented at $320 a week. So it's still a good deal, positive cash flow, and moving up, it's now close to $600 a week in rent, and the property's probably appreciated to about 700 odd thousand with recent sales. And probably every other week I'm getting hounded by real estate agents in Queensland asking if I want to sell it. So it's pretty good. So the first few properties obviously were direct with Eddie, so he was presenting deals. As it sort of progressed and the team got bigger, there were obviously individuals within Dilleen that would reach out. I guess as I was ready to move to the next property, we'd have a conversation and then it would be, okay, start sending through sort of the next deals that happened. Obviously, COVID was a bit of a slowdown period, but pretty much since 2022, I guess, has been one, if not two properties a year, I guess, with Eddie. So dealing with, I guess, the likes of Sam and as well as Eddie on a commercial property that I bought in Sydney, very hands-on questions around the rental return, what the property is like, the suburb, I guess, what's in the region, what are the drivers. So that sort of process, but then linked in, as I mentioned, with Picker Finance and being able to sort of work in settlement plus what's happening with the property and some of the bulk deals, that ability to have sort of questions around what's happening, as well as organising things like pest and building inspection. So the DilleenProperty group, I guess the ability to just talk to individuals in each of those areas being, made the process easier. Yeah, so probably on my side, I bought my first property in 2008 when I first started working, and I sort of took that from my dad. My dad is retired now, but long-term investor, has done pretty well out of property, but he's obviously done it all himself and mostly in developing, so buying old houses, subdividing. So that's pretty much what I did as my first property, was buy an old property and subdivide and construct 2 new dwellings. So I knew about property and I've always been interested, but I'd never looked past my immediate suburbs where I lived. And that was kind of the extent of my investing area of property. So I'd always be looking at what's available, but literally 3 or 4 suburbs from where I lived. I think coming into, I guess, Eddie's sort of world and sphere, the ability to open my eyes to, there's multiple markets, there's multiple regions in markets, and there's always a deal to be had, and probably the opportunity to build growth when you first buy the property. That's probably the biggest learning, and the ability to say what's a good price, even though the market might say a property's worth 300. If you have the right drivers and you're picking up for 250,000, you're already making money on the deal. So that's where some people say you're paying an agency fee, but I guess that's all the research and all the work. So literally things are being handed to you on a silver platter with all the work done for you. So if you are busy, even if you are interested in property, the ability to cut that time down and someone to present 3, 4, 5, 6 properties at once, it's really your decision to make around what fits with you as an individual and what you want to do. And probably working with Picker Finance, you sort of link in, are you trying to get to 5 properties, 10 properties? So that's where they can structure, should you go with this lender, a tier 1 now or a tier 3 lender, in order so you don't stop your growth. You can use the right lenders at the right time. And the other good thing about Picker Finance, they constantly check in and look at, is this still the right lender for you? Should you change? Should you, go to another lender now for this reason? So I think being able to wrap it up all into one sort of group, and the fact that I can do it from, 3,500 kilometers away, everything's online, yet you can still talk to someone when you need to. So that's been a positive side. I think, obviously the personal story of Eddie is quite inspiring for anyone. I guess I work in a professional capacity, but obviously Eddie coming from, the western suburbs, and you learn about his story, but I think his tenacity to actually work multiple jobs to just start building. I think that's probably the biggest one that people miss, is you don't have to be the most qualified person in the room. You just have to have the tenacity to say, I want to do better, or I want to get ahead. So that probably resonated with me in terms of Eddie's story, but also Eddie's pretty direct as well. I think what you see is what you get. And I think that's testament to who he is and the team he's got around him, that everyone's also investors, as I mentioned. So you're not just talking with people that are looking to get a paycheck. You're dealing with people who also are very similar. And I think if you look at most successful organizations, most of them are aligned in a vision, and even if it's a group vision, it's still personal visions that align with where a business is looking to go. So I think, for me, that's probably what resonated the most.